Hello, sisters and brothers, friends, solidarity. I hope you have thoroughly enjoyed our first ever online summit. This week has been at times emotional, uplifting, but always inspiring. It has been truly great to connect with all of you, hear your stories, and make time to build our union in the midst of everything that is going on. I have participated in many sessions this week, as I know you have. Connecting online has truly helped us continue the work of our union in these unpredictable times. And thank you so very much for being here. On this day a year ago, you elected me National Secretary Treasurer. Wow, did we get the kind of surprise none of us could have expected. But anyone who knows me knows that I'm not one to back away from a challenge. There was hard work to be done. Our members needed us like never before, and we needed to step up. 2020 has brought us a pandemic that has caused a crisis in itself. A virus took hold of our lives, infected our loved ones, killed workers on the job, sent the economy into a tailspin, and created the new normal that will shape our lives and our union for years to come. COVID-19 has deepened many profound problems that existed already in our world. The overpower of corporations on the way we run our society and our country, wealth inequality, precarious employment, the climate crisis. It made everything worse. There is no sugarcoating it. While we tackled the endless flow of bad news hitting us in March, April, and May, we lived through our own reality, a reality that changed daily. More than 1/3 of our membership were laid off in a very short period of time, creating a mountain of questions, issues of income replacement, and protections for our members. The union's finances that I inherited just 1 year ago, which were already, frankly, in need of some hard work, were completely turned upside down. As our local unions know, this kind of fluctuation in dues affects our entire operations, not just this year, but potentially into the future. Internally, the past few months have been very hard. Some of you may have heard that we've had to make adjustments to our staff and the way we run our union activities. We've had to reprioritize where we put our efforts and our resources. Resources that once felt abundant have become less so. And yet, as a union, we have become even more focused on the needs of our members and on the very serious challenge in front of us, the challenge of not allowing this crisis to weaken unions, to weaken our union. Our union has lived through a global financial crisis before, but history remains to be written on this virus. We don't know what the future has in store for any of us. But this I do know. Not even this pandemic will keep us from standing up for working people, from continuing to build a vibrant workers' movement, a strong, fighting, organizing union. This must remain our single purpose. It is in this context that we have aimed to make decisions that put the well-being of our members and the long-term viability of our union at the forefront. Along with a most excellent finance team, our National Executive Board, and its dedicated finance committee, we are working piece by piece to solidify the financial foundations of our union. I remember in the early days of the pandemic, March 10th to be exact, we held a meeting with our leadership and had a serious conversation about what this pandemic might mean for us, all of us. That we would never want to put the safety of our members, our staff, our team at risk. As such, we dedicated and decided then and there that we would respond to this pandemic in an unprecedented, coordinated fashion. We held a meeting every single day after that for the next many months. Through this process, we put our members at the heart of our activity. Of course, we are a union, and that is what we do. But more so since the start of this pandemic. The materials, resources, online courses that you saw coming from your union in the past months were the result of these coordinated efforts. We tried to mobilize our entire union to get you the answers you needed at the time you needed them, to make sure workers' voices were heard and needs acted upon by governments and employers. As the pandemic continues, please know that your questions, concerns will shape the work that we do. Never hesitate, not for a second, to get in touch with your local union, with your national representative, with your elected leadership, to share concerns and to discuss how we can provide you with more support. We are learning now how decisions made a big difference in how the pandemic impacted on populations. Countries that enacted lockdown measures saved lives. And incidentally, countries led by women have been found to have enacted lockdown measures earlier, and as a result, more lives were saved. It's the case of New Zealand, Germany, Taiwan, and Denmark. I know the sisters here will recognize that when politics are based on care, compassion, and humanity over profit and greed, lives are saved and our world is better. Here in Canada, we have our own women of the crisis. Public health experts such as Bonnie Henry in BC and Teresa Tam nationally, who provided the caution and the leadership necessary to save lives in the early days of this pandemic. And they dealt with tons of unfair treatment through all of it. Despite these strong women providing the way forward, we have a lot of premiers right now who are just not listening. You will remember that in the early days of the crisis, there was centralized messaging as to what we all should be doing. Now the directives to the general population are more confusing, coming from different sources, and this will definitely be a challenge for us this fall. My heart goes out to all the parents dealing with the headache caused by inadequate school reopening plans. For example, in Alberta, COVID-19 cases are spiking. There is yet another outbreak at a meatpacking plant, and the government is pushing through with a deeply flawed back-to-school plan. This speaks to a much bigger dynamic right now in Alberta. Over the summer, Jason Kenney's government passed an outrageous anti-worker bill designed to undermine the ability of unions to represent members, to represent working people. The right wing loves to come after our union for political activity, yet the politics they implement while they are in government are meant to hurt workers, to strip us of our rights and social wages. At a time when it hurts to read the news coming out of south of the border in the United States, the Alberta government is trying to import policies directly from there. Anti-worker labor laws, privatized education, and for-profit healthcare. This is what they do when they hold power. And they wonder why workers fight back politically. Because friends, we have no choice but to fight for the kind of world that we want. It's either fight or lose. Make no mistake, despite the work of the right wing all over the world to undermine the kind of vision we have for a better society, people want change. We've seen historic levels of organizing for racial justice happening all across the United States, the epicenter of the pandemic, but also here in Canada, where activists from Black and Indigenous communities who have been fighting for decades are pushing through, including in our own union. People are hungry for the kind of change that brings justice to all. In the United States, trust in government is trending down, while at home, it is increasing. Recent polling shows that a full 73% of Canadians want and expect broad transformation of society over a return to the status quo. My friends, we can work with that. As trades unionists, we organize for years for the kind of moment that we have right now. We spend our lives fighting so that people and governments see the importance of universal public services such as healthcare, pharmacare, and childcare. While we would never wish a pandemic on anybody or on any generation ever, we are in it now. And we need to fight like hell to make sure that workers and their families are okay. As a union, if we hold any ounce of power to shape what comes next, we have to ask ourselves, how will we use that power? These past few months, we have refused to wait for government to come up with solutions. We have instead formulated them. We have imagined how the situation can be improved, and we have proactively presented these ideas to governments all across the country. We have fought for workers, for our members, and we have had many victories. On employment insurance and CERB, on support for hurting sectors, to the health and safety of working people. Waiting for things to get better was just frankly not in the cards for us. Just as we have done over the past few months, myself and my fellow national leaders, Jerry Dias and Renaud Gagne, will continue to make calls to government to fight on your behalf and to get results for Unifor members and all working people, both politically and at the bargaining table. Today, our next panel will dive into Unifor's program for a fair, inclusive, and resilient economy. We've put tons of thought and work into this, and we can say with confidence that Unifor has a vision for the way forward. As we head into the fall, I ask you to keep this Build Back Better program in mind and apply it wherever you can, to your workplace, to your community, to your province, and to our country. Use it as a lens for putting people before profit as we navigate the uncertainty of the coming months. But there's one more thing you can do. We don't know exactly how the next few months will roll out. I wish we did. Here is what I will have on my radar, and I encourage you to do the same. What is in your power to maximize the health and safety of your workplace? What is in your power as a rank and file activist, as a local union executive, as a trade unionist, to fight for the highest level of safety at work for you and your coworkers? As you ask yourself this, know that our union has a fully equipped occupational health and safety department that is available to support you, answer questions, provide training, and review back to work agreements. They are launching new webinars this fall as part of our education series. Please check them out. And I ask, what is in your power to fight for racial justice? What can you do to identify and eliminate barriers in your workplace or your community? What can your local union do to take an active part in the fight for racial justice, working side by side with communities of color, including Black and Indigenous communities? How is our union providing space, voice, and power to workers of color? And what else must we do? As union members, we are among the lucky ones. We have collective agreements that give us a leg up in our relationship with the boss. This means that in a crisis such as the one we're experiencing, we have a little more support than hundreds of thousands, millions of workers out there. In other words, the support of a union is a form of power. The question is, What will you do with that power? Here's my pitch to you. If you know anyone, and I mean anyone, a friend, a sibling, a relative, a cousin, anyone who is not represented by a union, you have some work to do. Talk to them about what it means to be a union member. Explain to them about the difference between a collective agreement and an individual work contract. Be the one to tell them about a union so they see more than what outside commentators say about us. Share your vision of what it means to fight for justice for all and discredit those who say that unions shouldn't act politically. And when you've gained their trust and interest, connect them with our union's organizing department. This is what we do as a union. We help people organize and get their own union, get support in their workplace, and have power. There is power in a union. We all know this. And despite the difficulties ahead, we know a better world is also possible when we organize for it, when we fight for it. We know a better economy that puts workers, equality, racial justice, and good jobs for all at the center is more than possible. We know when we fight, and when we do it with solidarity, we can win for all workers. My friends, I know it's been hard. I cannot promise that this fall will be any easier. What I can do is tell you that no matter what we face, we will do so together, as a family, as a strong community of workers fighting for justice for everyone. Solidarity, my friends. Stay strong, stay safe, build your union every day.